The recording light blinked red on the small desk console. Aiden stared at it for a long time, his fingers trembling above the keyboard. He wasn't supposed to share private logs. The station's rules were clear: no personal transmissions without approval. But his heart pounded with a restless urgency. If he didn't tell someone what had just happened, it might feel like a dream. He took a deep breath and began to type. It had been 3 months since Aiden left Earth. 3 months of silent corridors, cold recycled air, and people who barely looked at each other. The Coalition research station on the edge of the Orion Belt wasn't cruel, just empty. Everyone had their tasks, their schedules, their own locked rooms. Humans were only a tiny fraction of the crew, scattered between dozens of alien species. Aiden often felt like a small grain of sand floating in a galaxy that didn't notice him. Every night he lay in his narrow bunk, staring at the metal ceiling, trying to imagine the smell of rain back home. He missed the rough sandstorms of his desert hometown, the call of street vendors, the warmth of his grandmother's voice. Here there was only the soft hiss of the oxygen vents and the cold hum of engines. He had hoped for adventure when he signed up for the exchange program. Instead, he found silence. Until today. It began with a simple message on his wrist console that morning. New quarter assignment. Roommate incoming. Prepare for arrival. Aiden frowned at the screen. A roommate? That wasn't normal. Humans usually had private quarters because of environmental adaptation. He didn't mind sharing, but the sudden notice made his stomach tighten. He cleaned his small side of the room anyway, shoving clothes into a drawer and brushing the crumbs from the desk. He told himself it was no big deal. Maybe another human. Maybe someone from the Mars outposts. But deep down, a quiet curiosity stirred. What if it was someone from another world? The station clock blinked 17 Kilern when the door slid open with a soft hiss. Aiden turned and froze. The figure that stepped inside was nothing like the quiet scientists he'd seen in the halls. This being was tall, nearly brushing the doorway with skin that shimmered like molten silver. Smooth plates of light armor curved around a powerful frame. 2 pale blue eyes glowed faintly in the dim room, catching every detail like moonlight on water. For a heartbeat, the air felt heavier, charged like a storm. Aiden's throat went dry. Hi? The being tilted their head, studying him with a focus so intense it made his heart pound. Then they spoke. The voice was deep and resonant, each word carrying a weight that vibrated in the air. You are mine now. Aiden blinked. Wait, what? You are mine, the alien repeated, calm but firm, as if stating a fact like the sky is black or gravity pulls down. Every instinct told Aiden to step back. Humans weren't property. The Coalition agreements guaranteed freedom for all sentient species. He should have shouted, called security, something. But instead he just stared. Because behind the strange words there was something else in those glowing eyes. Something he couldn't name. It wasn't threat. It wasn't coldness. It felt like recognition. The alien took one slow step forward. The silver of their skin caught the room's pale light, throwing soft reflections on the walls. I am Carr, they said, their name a gentle hum that Aiden felt in his chest more than he heard. I have chosen you, chosen. The word landed heavier than a shout. Aiden's pulse raced. Chosen for what? I don't even know you. Carr didn't move closer but lowered their voice. You are small, they said, but you burn bright. I saw it the moment the door opened. The room fell silent except for the faint hiss of the air vents. Aiden's mind spun. Burn bright? He wanted to laugh, to break the strange tension, but no sound came out. He wasn't bright. He was an ordinary kid who'd left Earth to escape the dull ache of a small life. Nothing about him was special. Still, something in Carr's words cut through the loneliness he'd carried for months. The way they said I saw it, like it was obvious, undeniable, felt different from the polite smiles of passing coworkers or the automated station messages. It felt like someone had actually looked at him. Aiden took a small breath. Okay, he said carefully, but I'm not property. Humans don't work like that. Carr inclined their head slightly, a gesture that felt almost respectful. Not property, they said. Bonded, protected, seen. The last word lingered in the air like a soft echo. Aiden didn't know what to say. His heart thudded hard against his ribs, not from fear, but from something warmer. Something he hadn't felt since leaving home. The sense that he mattered. Outside the small cabin window, distant stars burned against a black sea. Inside, the alien with silver skin and glowing eyes stood calm, waiting for his answer. Aiden swallowed, a nervous laugh escaping despite himself. "This is a lot." Carr tilted their head again, the faintest curve of their lips, if those were lips, almost like a smile. "Then we begin with a lot." For the first time in months, the room didn't feel empty. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was full, alive, like a pause before a song begins. Aiden sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the strange, shining being who had stepped into his life and declared something impossible. Maybe tomorrow he would ask more questions. Maybe he would demand a proper explanation or call the station chief. But tonight, he just sat there listening to the quiet hum of the ship and the slow, steady breathing of his new roommate. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he didn't feel alone. The station's morning cycle began with a soft chime that echoed through the metal corridors. Aiden opened his eyes to the faint blue light glowing under the door and for a moment, forgot there was someone else in the room. Then he heard a low, steady sound like a quiet drum beat. Carr was already awake. The alien sat cross-legged on the floor, silver skin reflecting the cold light, eyes closed as if listening to something far away. Their chest rose and fell in a slow rhythm that matched the hum of the station's engines. Aiden stayed still, watching. There was a calm strength in the way Carr held their body. Every movement controlled, every breath deliberate. Aiden had never shared a room with anyone who looked so otherworldly. He remembered last night the words that had left him speechless. "You are mine now." He almost laughed at the memory, but the sound caught in his throat. It didn't feel like a joke. It felt like a beginning he couldn't name. Carr opened their eyes and turned their head slightly. "You are awake." Their voice rolled through the air like distant thunder. Not loud, but deep enough that Aiden felt it in his chest. "Yeah," Aiden said, rubbing his eyes. "I guess I am." Carr unfolded their long limbs and rose to full height with smooth grace. "You did not call the station guards," they said, tilting their head. "You stayed," Aiden shrugged, unsure how to explain. "You didn't threaten me," he said. "Just surprised me." Carr's faint glow brightened, almost like a smile. "Surprise is not harm." Aiden climbed out of the bunk, feet touching the cold metal floor. "Still," he said, "humans don't usually get claimed." Carr considered his words for a long moment. "Claimed is not owned. It is a promise." Aiden frowned. "A promise of what?" Carr stepped closer, but not too close. "To stand with you," they said. "To see you when others will not. To guard when danger comes." The words made something shift inside Aiden. Months of quiet loneliness on the station had made him feel like a ghost. No one noticed him unless he was late for duty. Now this towering alien stood before him, speaking as if Aiden's existence mattered enough to protect. He cleared his throat. "That's a lot for someone you just met." Carr's eyes softened. "I watched you before the assignment," they admitted. "I saw you walk the empty halls and still greet strangers. I saw you pause to help a technician who dropped their tools. Small fires in the dark, bright." Aiden blinked. He hadn't realized anyone noticed those small moments. He'd done them out of habit, not heroism. But Carr had seen. Before he could respond, the station intercom crackled. "Sector 7 crew morning briefing in 10 minutes. Aiden exhaled and reached for his uniform. "I have to report." "I will come," Carr said. "You're coming to my briefing?" "Yes, you are claimed." Aiden gave a half smile. "Guess I don't have a choice, huh?" Carr tilted their head again, and for a heartbeat their eyes shimmered like laughing stars. "Choice is always yours." The corridor to the briefing hall was busy with mixed crews. Humans, tall avian engineers, short crystal-bodied researchers. Most barely glanced at Aiden, but the moment they saw Carr walking beside him, heads turned. Conversations paused. Some aliens whispered in their own languages, voices like wind through stone. Aiden felt heat climb his neck. "Everyone's staring," he muttered. "They see what I see," Carr said calmly. "What's that supposed to mean?" "That you matter." Aiden shook his head, both embarrassed and oddly proud. Inside the hall, the lead coordinator, a tall insectoid named Drin, started the daily report. Aiden took a seat near the back. Carr stood behind him like a silent guardian. When Aiden glanced over his shoulder, Carr's glowing eyes scanned the room, watchful and steady. During the meeting, Aiden struggled to focus. The words about supply routes and energy modules faded behind the awareness of Carr's presence. It was strange. comforting and intense all at once, like sitting next to a quiet storm. After the briefing, a group of young technicians approached. 2 were human. 1 was a pale reptilian with bright orange scales. They looked from Aiden to Carr with thin smiles. "So," one human said, "you've got yourself a bodyguard now?" Aiden tried to laugh. "Not exactly." The reptilian tilted his head, eyes narrow. "Looks like a pet arrangement to me. Shiny friend pick you out of the crowd?" Aiden's chest tightened. "It's not like that," he said, voice low. Before anyone else could speak, Carr stepped forward. Their tall frame cast a long shadow over the group. "He is no pet," they said, voice like iron wrapped in velvet. "He is my chosen. You will speak with respect." The hallway went silent. The technicians shifted uneasily. The reptilian hissed softly, then turned and walked away. The humans followed without a word. Aiden stared up at Carr, a mix of shock and gratitude swirling in his chest. "You didn't have to—" "Yes," Carr interrupted softly. "I did." They walked back toward their quarters without another word. The station seemed quieter now, the usual mechanical hum softer somehow. Later, during a routine check in the storage bay, Aiden found himself watching Carr move. The alien examined each console with careful precision, every motion fluid. There was power in their body, but also a quiet patience. When they turned to him, their blue eyes held a question. "Do humans dislike being defended?" Aiden thought about it. "We like to stand up for ourselves," he said, "but it felt good to have someone on my side." Carr inclined their head. "Then I will stand when you wish and wait when you do not." The words settled in Aiden's heart like a gentle flame. For so long he'd been another face in the crowd, someone no one bothered to remember. Now someone, something, saw him fully. It was strange, but it felt right. That night, back in their room, Aiden sat on his bunk while Carr adjusted a small glowing device near the wall. The soft light bathed the room in blue. "Why me?" Aiden asked suddenly. Carr paused. "Because you walk with hope even when alone," they said simply. "In a universe of silence, you carry sound." Aiden didn't know how to respond. He looked out the small window at the endless dark, stars burning like distant fires. For the first time since he'd left Earth, the darkness didn't feel empty. He glanced at Carr, whose silver skin caught the starlight. Something warm and steady filled the space between them, something bigger than words. And for the first time, Aiden thought that maybe being claimed wasn't something to fear. Maybe it was something to understand. The station lights dimmed to a quiet amber as evening cycle began. Aiden finished logging sensor data in the small research bay and rubbed the back of his neck. The day had been long but strangely bright. Since Carr's arrival, the heavy silence of the station no longer pressed on him the same way. He walked toward his quarters, the corridor echoing with the low hum of power lines. Footsteps followed. At first he thought nothing of it. Crew often walked the same route. But the sound stayed close, a faint shuffle behind him. Aiden slowed. The steps slowed, too. A prickling chill crept across his shoulders. He glanced back. 3 figures emerged from a side hallway. 2 were human, broad-shouldered engineers Aiden had seen around the docking bays. Between them strode a tall alien with mottled gray skin and sharp ridges along its jaw. Their eyes glimmered with a hard light. Aiden's breath caught. He turned to face them as they closed in. "Evening," one of the humans said with a thin smile. "Where's your silver shadow tonight?" Aiden's stomach tightened. "Carr's on duty." "Good," the alien hissed softly. "Means we can talk." The taller human stepped closer. "You think you're special now? Walking around with a warrior protector like you're some kind of prince?" "I never said that," Aiden replied, forcing his voice steady. "But you let it happen," the gray-skinned alien said, words curling like smoke. "An ancient warrior choosing a fragile human. It makes the rest of us look weak. You enjoy the attention, don't you?" Aiden shook his head. "No, I didn't ask for this," the second human smirked. "Then unclaim yourself. Tell your alien to back off." Aiden opened his mouth, but nothing came. Could he even do that? He'd never asked Carr what the bond meant in their culture, never thought about how to break it. The alien stepped closer, eyes narrow. "If you can't, maybe you need a lesson." Fear clawed at Aiden's chest. He backed toward the wall, heart pounding. Before another word, a low rumble rolled through the corridor, a sound deeper than thunder, colder than the void. Carr. They appeared from the shadows like a storm given shape, silver skin glowing faintly under the amber lights. In one swift motion, Carr moved between Aiden and the trio, towering, their presence filling the hallway. "You will step away," Carr said, voice sharp as steel. The gray-skinned alien bared small fangs. "He hides behind you. He stands with me," Carr corrected, eyes blazing. "You mock him, you mock me." The human shifted, uneasy. The tall one tried to laugh, but the sound cracked. "We were just talking. Leave," Carr commanded. For a tense heartbeat, no one moved. Then, one by one, the trio backed away and disappeared into another corridor, their footsteps fading. The hallway fell silent again, except for Aiden's fast breathing. Carr turned, eyes softening. "Did they harm you?" "No," Aiden whispered, still shaking. "They were just angry." Carr studied his face carefully. "They see what they fear." "What's that?" "That a small light can still burn brighter than their pride." Aiden swallowed hard, his fear slowly melting into a strange warmth. "You came so fast," he said. "I felt you," Carr replied simply. Back in their room, Aiden sat on the edge of his bunk, still processing the encounter. "They don't like this bond," he said quietly. "They do not need to," Carr answered, kneeling so their eyes were level. "The bond is ours, not theirs, but does it bother you? People talking?" Carr tilted their head. "I have faced war storms and endless void. Words do not wound me, but I will not allow them to wound you." Aiden looked down at his hands. "I didn't know what to do." "I froze. You stood," Carr said. "That is enough." The simple certainty in those words settled Aiden's racing heart. Later that night, Aiden couldn't sleep. The memory of the corridor still flickered in his mind. Sharp voices, the sudden rush of fear, and then Carr's quiet strength. He turned toward the opposite bunk where Carr sat cross-legged, eyes half closed in meditation. "Carr," Aiden whispered. The alien opened their eyes, soft blue light shimmering. "Yes, why pick me? I mean, there are stronger people here, smarter, why not them?" Carr's gaze didn't waver. "Strength of body is common. Strength of spirit is rare," Aiden blinked. "I don't feel strong." "You keep hope even when alone," Carr said. "That is strength." The words landed deep, warming something Aiden hadn't realized was cold. He thought of the lonely days before Carr arrived. Silent meals, empty hallways, the feeling of being invisible. Maybe he had kept a spark alive without knowing. "Do all in your culture. Claim someone?" Aiden asked. "Only when we find a soul that resonates," Carr said softly. "It is not command. It is a vow to stand with, not above." Aiden exhaled, tension easing from his shoulders. "A vow," he repeated. "So I'm free?" "Always," Carr said. "You are chosen, not chained." The distinction settled over Aiden like a gentle blanket. For the first time, he believed it. The next day, whispers followed them through the station. Some curious, some sharp. Aiden felt the eyes, but also felt Carr beside him, steady as a mountain. When a technician dropped a crate of tools, Aiden knelt to help without thinking. Carr crouched too, silent but present. The technician looked startled, then smiled faintly, murmuring thanks. Later, as they walked back to their sector, Aiden noticed a change. Fewer people looked at them with scorn. Some even nodded politely. Maybe strength wasn't about loud words or sharp claws. Maybe it was about quiet persistence and the courage to keep showing kindness. Carr seemed to sense his thoughts. "Small acts shift great tides," they said. Aiden smiled. "You always talk like that?" Carr's eyes gleamed with soft amusement. "Only when truth is simple." That evening, Aiden stood at the viewing window while the stars drifted past like scattered diamonds. He felt Carr step up beside him, their tall frame a comforting shadow. "Do you miss your world?" Carr asked. "Every day," Aiden admitted. "But tonight, it feels less far away." Carr inclined their head. "Because you are not alone." Aiden looked up at the endless dark sky. The stars didn't feel cold anymore. They felt alive, like distant fires calling across space. And for the first time since he left Earth, Aiden believed the universe might be a place where a small light could truly matter. The station's artificial dawn spread a pale glow across the corridors as Aiden stepped out of his quarters. Carr followed, tall and silent, their silver skin reflecting the soft light like moonlit water. Aiden had grown used to their steady presence, but today he felt a quiet tension in the air, a sharp edge beneath the calm. They were headed to the engineering wing for routine system checks. As they walked, Aiden noticed small groups of crew members whispering, their eyes flicking toward him and then away. The attention no longer made him shrink, but the sudden hush whenever he passed left a chill. When they reached the wing, Chief Engineer Morik, a bulky human with grease-stained sleeves, met Aiden with a frown. "We've got a problem in the outer conduit," Morik said. "A sensor glitch or maybe a power leak. I need you to check the panel outside the hull. Carr, you can assist if you like." Aiden nodded, pulling on his magnetic boots and helmet. Outside meant vacuum. He had done it before, but the thought of open space always made his stomach twist. Carr said nothing, simply securing their own gear with silent precision. The airlock hissed open and they stepped into the cold dark. Stars stretched like endless lanterns around them. The station's hull curved beneath their feet, glowing faintly under distant suns. Aiden focused on the steady pull of his boots and the hiss of his suit's oxygen. As they reached the damaged panel, a low vibration shuddered through the metal. Aiden stiffened. "Did you feel that?" "Yes," Carr replied, their deep voice calm but alert. "Something moves." Before Aiden could ask, a bright streak flared in the black. A maintenance drone spinning wildly, its red lights flashing error signals. It wasn't under control. The drone's sharp repair arms whirred like blades as it zipped toward them. Aiden's heart slammed. "It's off course." The drone darted closer, fast and erratic. Aiden reached for his tether line, but his glove slipped on the cold metal. The drone let out a harsh mechanical screech and lunged. Carr moved instantly. They shoved Aiden back against the hull, magnetic boots clanging. With a single sweeping motion, Carr caught the drone's spinning arm. Sparks burst into the dark like tiny stars. The machine thrashed, clawing at Carr's forearm, leaving glowing scratches across the silver skin. "Carr!" Aiden shouted, panic flooding his chest. Carr grunted, twisting with powerful grace. The drone screeched and cracked against the hull, finally shattering into a rain of broken parts. Shards drifted into the void. Breathing hard, Aiden grabbed Carr's arm, eyes wide. Thin blue liquid seeped from the deep scratches across the alien's plating, glowing like faint neon. "You're hurt!" Carr looked down at the wound as if it were nothing. "Better me than you," they said quietly. "No," Aiden protested, voice shaking. "That thing could have—" He stopped, swallowing hard. The thought of what might have happened if Carr hadn't been there sent a cold rush through him. Carr's eyes softened. "You are safe. That is enough." Back inside the airlock, Aiden stripped off his helmet with trembling hands. He barely noticed Morik checking the equipment. All he could see was the bright blue streak along Carr's arm. "You need medical attention," he said firmly. Carr gave a small nod. "I will allow it." The medbay smelled faintly of sterilizing mist. A healer named Lyra, a gentle four-armed alien with amber eyes, examined the wound. "Deep but clean," she said. "It will mend in a cycle or two. You are fortunate the blades did not slice deeper." Aiden hovered nearby, unable to relax until Lyra finished wrapping the glowing bandage around Carr's arm. "I can't believe you stood in front of it," he said, voice low. Carr turned their calm gaze on him. "I vowed to protect you." Aiden felt a lump rise in his throat. "But you could have been seriously hurt." "I am built to endure," Carr replied. "You are not." The simple truth in their words cut deeper than fear. Aiden wanted to argue, but the memory of the spinning drone and the flash of its blades left him silent. Later, back in their quarters, Aiden sat on his bunk, hands clasped tightly. Carr adjusted their posture on the opposite bed, their silver skin faintly dimmer than usual. "You shouldn't have risked yourself like that," Aiden said finally. Carr tilted their head. "Would you not do the same for one you value?" The question stopped Aiden. He thought of his family on Earth, his grandmother, his younger sister. He would have stepped in for them without thinking. "I guess I would," he admitted. Carr's eyes gleamed softly. "Then you understand." Aiden looked down, struggling to find words for the storm of feelings inside. Gratitude, fear, and something warmer, stronger. I don't know why you care so much," he whispered. Carr leaned forward slightly. "Because your kind gives even when you have nothing," they said. "Because you hope even when the void surrounds you. That light is rare. I will not see it lost." The room fell silent. Aiden felt the weight of Carr's words settle like a steady heartbeat. He thought of all the lonely nights he'd spent before Carr arrived, the quiet meals and empty stares. He hadn't realized how close he'd come to giving up that small inner flame. Somehow Carr had seen it. Aiden exhaled slowly. Thank you, he said, voice barely above a whisper. Carr inclined their head, a quiet acknowledgement. The next day, word of the incident spread through the station. Crew members who once sneered now looked at Aiden with cautious respect. Some even offered quick nods as he passed. It felt strange but not unpleasant. While checking systems in the hydro bay, a young technician approached, her eyes curious. I heard about the drone, she said. Is it true your roommate saved you? Aiden hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, they protected me. The technician smiled faintly. Guess you really are something special. Aiden flushed, unsure how to respond. He wasn't special, not really. But as he walked back to his quarters, he realized something had shifted. The bond with Carr wasn't just protection. It was recognition. That night, Aiden stood at the small window gazing at the stars. Carr joined him, the soft glow of their eyes reflecting distant galaxies. Do you ever regret choosing me? Aiden asked quietly. Carr shook their head. No, you walk with courage even when you fear. That is what drew me. Aiden swallowed, emotion tightening his chest. I don't feel brave. Bravery is not the absence of fear, Carr said. It is the choice to stand anyway. The words wrapped around Aiden like a gentle warmth. He looked out at the endless dark and felt for the first time that maybe the void wasn't empty at all. The next rotation began in uneasy silence. Aiden woke to find the bunk across from his own empty. Carr's blanket was neatly folded, their usual soft blue glow missing from the room. For weeks they had started every morning together. A quiet rhythm of shared space and calm words. Now the absence felt sharp, like a door left open to cold air. He dressed quickly and checked the hall. No sign of the tall silver figure. The corridor smelled faintly of ozone from the overnight filter cycle. Aiden forced a slow breath. Maybe an early shift, he told himself, but the tightness in his chest didn't ease. At breakfast, the mess hall buzzed with low voices. Aiden spotted Morik at a corner table and slid onto the bench beside him. Seen Carr? He asked. Morik looked up, surprise flickering across his grease-stained face. Not since the midnight alarm. Didn't they tell you? Security called them in. Some dispute near the outer docks. Aiden's stomach dipped. Dispute? Trading crews got heated. Nothing major, Morik said, returning to his meal. Your friend's a natural for peacekeeping. Tall, calm, intimidating? Good fit. Aiden nodded, but his mind stayed fixed on the empty bunk. Hours passed. Aiden finished his system checks, recalibrated sensors, even helped a hydrotech replace a leaking pipe. But the worry stayed. Each time the corridor door hissed open, he half expected Carr to stride in with their quiet strength and soft blue eyes. Each time it was someone else. By evening cycle, the station's pale lights dimmed to amber. Still no Carr. Aiden returned to their shared room and sat on the edge of his bunk, elbows on his knees. He stared at the opposite bed, perfectly neat, and felt a strange hollowness settle in his chest. It wasn't just concern for Carr's safety. It was the sudden weight of solitude. He hadn't realized how much warmth their presence had brought until it was gone. He thought of Earth, his grandmother's gentle voice, the laughter of his sister, the smell of spice in the evening streets. Distance pressed on him from all directions, between planets, between hearts. For a moment he wondered if Carr had decided the bond was a mistake, if maybe the claim had ended quietly without a word. The thought stung more than he expected. Near midnight, the door finally slid open with a soft hiss. Carr entered, tall and silent, silver skin dulled by faint scratches. Their eyes glowed low like the last embers of a fire. Aiden shot to his feet. Where were you? The words came out sharper than he intended. Carr paused, then closed the door behind them. There was conflict at the outer docks, they said quietly. Smugglers refused inspection. I was asked to stand with the guard. You could have told me, Aiden said, voice tight. I did not wish to wake you. Aiden crossed his arms, a dozen feelings colliding. Relief, worry, anger, something deeper he couldn't name. I spent all day wondering if you were hurt. Carr studied him for a long moment. You feared for me? Of course I did, Aiden said. You matter. The room went still. The hum of the air vents seemed to fade. Carr stepped closer, their eyes warming to a brighter blue. You matter to me, they said softly. Aiden felt his heart stutter. He looked down, heat rising to his face. I didn't like feeling that distance. Carr lowered to a gentle crouch so their eyes were level. Distance is space, not absence, they said. Even far away, the bond remains. Aiden's breath caught. The tension inside him loosened like a knot finally untied. They sat side by side on the edge of Aiden's bunk. Carr's presence filled the small room with quiet steadiness. After a long silence, Aiden spoke again. "I don't know why it scared me so much," he admitted. "I've been alone before, a lot. But today felt different." "Because you are no longer alone," Carr said simply. Aiden turned that over in his mind. It was true. Before Carr, loneliness had been a constant, an ache he had learned to carry. Now the thought of it returning felt unbearable. He glanced at the faint scratches along Carr's arm. "Did anyone hurt you?" "No," Carr replied. "Words were sharp, but I am not cut by words." Aiden gave a small, tired smile. "I wish I was like that." "You are," Carr said. "You stand even when the void presses close. You stood tonight waiting for me." The words sank deep, warm, and steady. Aiden felt the ache of the day begin to fade. Later, as station night settled, they remained seated together, watching the faint glow of stars through the small window. Carr spoke quietly, almost a whisper. "In my culture, distance is a test. The bond is proven not by closeness but by return." Aiden looked at them surprised. "So this was like a test?" "Not planned," Carr said. "But true." Aiden leaned back against the wall, letting the thought settle. Maybe it was a test of trust, of connection. Despite the fear, he had believed Carr would come back. And they had. He realized then how much he trusted this being from a distant world. More than he'd trusted anyone since leaving Earth. Maybe more than he'd trusted anyone at all. Before sleep, Aiden reached out, almost without thinking, and touched the edge of Carr's bandaged arm. The silver skin beneath felt cool, the faint pulse steady. "Thank you for coming back," he said quietly. Carr's eyes softened to a gentle glow. "I always return to the light I choose." The simple words settled like a promise in the small room. Outside, the stars drifted across endless black. But inside, Aiden felt the universe grow smaller, warmer, held by something stronger than distance. For the first time in a long life of travel and empty space, he closed his eyes knowing he was not, and would never again be, alone. Morning on the station arrived as a pale wash of light across the metal walls. Aiden woke to the soft hum of engines and the quiet presence of Carr sitting cross-legged on the floor. The alien's silver skin caught the dim glow, their eyes closed in deep thought. Aiden watched for a moment, comforted by the steady rhythm of their breathing. "You didn't sleep," Aiden said softly. Carr opened their eyes, calm but heavy. "Dreams came," they replied. "Old memories," Aiden sat up. "Good ones or bad?" "Neither. Warnings." Carr stood in one smooth motion. "Something is moving near this station. I feel it." The words chilled Aiden more than he wanted to admit. The void outside was never quiet for long, and Carr's instincts had proven true before. By midday, the warning showed its teeth. A loud alarm ripped through the corridors, 3 rising tones that meant only one thing: unidentified ship inbound. Aiden's heart jumped. He grabbed his tool pack and raced to the observation deck. Carr kept pace beside him, silent and alert. The viewing glass showed a dark shape sliding from the stars, lights off, hull scarred. Not a traitor. Not friendly. Pirates. Someone muttered behind them. Station command barked orders over the comm. All crew to duty stations. Civilians secure in interior zones. "Shield prep now." Aiden felt the old fear of deep space crawl along his spine. But when he glanced at Carr, the alien stood still and strong, eyes bright like distant moons. "Stay close," Carr said. They moved through crowded halls as security doors sealed. Aiden's mind raced. Pressure drops, hull breaches, all the training drills that never quite matched real danger. But Carr's presence was a steady anchor. Inside the engineering bay, Aiden and a small team checked shield generators. Sparks flew as power conduits strained. Over the intercom came the captain's tense voice. "Unmarked ship approaching fast. Weapons charged. They are demanding cargo." A sudden jolt rocked the station. The floor shuddered and a few crew fell to their knees. "Hit from a warning shot," someone yelled. Aiden tightened a bolt, hands slick with sweat. Beside him, Carr adjusted power lines with precise movements, their silver fingers glowing faintly as if guiding the energy itself. Minutes stretched like hours. Another blast rattled the bay. A panel fell, throwing sparks across the floor. Aiden flinched back, coughing on smoke. Through it all, Carr stayed centered, their eyes glowing brighter. They want fear, Carr said calmly. Do not give it. Aiden swallowed hard. Easy for you to say. It is not easy, Carr replied, their voice low and fierce. It is choice. Something in that tone steadied Aiden's shaking hands. Together, they reinforced the last coupling just as the shields reached full power. A deep hum vibrated through the station walls, strong, unbroken. Over the comm, the captain announced, shields holding. Hostile ship circling, but no breach. A wave of relief swept the room, but Aiden knew it wasn't over. The pirate ship hailed the station again, voice harsh and crackling. They threatened to cut power if the crew didn't surrender. But the shields were strong, the crew united. Aiden felt a strange calm settle. He looked at Carr, who stood like a silent guardian. You're not scared? Aiden asked quietly. I know fear, Carr said, but I also know you. Humanity does not bow to dark. The word struck deep, simple, powerful. Aiden straightened, something fierce waking inside him. The next attack never came. After long, tense minutes, the pirate ship broke formation and drifted back into the black. Cheers erupted through the station. When the alarms finally ceased, exhaustion replaced adrenaline. Aiden slumped against the wall, sweat streaking his face. Carr crouched beside him, their eyes soft now, the bright glow fading to a gentle blue. You held strong, Carr said. I just did my job, Aiden replied. No, Carr said firmly. You chose courage. Aiden met their gaze and felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the station's systems. He realized then how deeply their bond had grown. Not just roommate, not just friend. Something older, wider, like the endless sky beyond Earth. You kept me steady, Aiden said. I don't know how you do it. Carr tilted their head. Because I claimed you, because we share strength. The words were quiet but heavy with meaning. Aiden's chest tightened. Not with fear, but with a strange, bright certainty. Later, when the station lights dimmed to evening mode, they walked the long corridor back to their quarters. Stars shone beyond the glass, cold and distant, but Aiden felt only warmth. You saved us, he said. We saved each other, Carr corrected gently. Aiden smiled. Guess you were right. Humanity doesn't bow to dark. And neither do I, Carr replied. They entered their room and for a moment simply stood there, the silence deep and full. Aiden felt the weight of the day fade into something softer. A shared victory. A quiet trust, you know, Aiden said, voice low. I don't think I could face this place without you. Carr's eyes glowed like small moons. You will never have to. As Aiden lay down that night, he thought of the pirate ship retreating into black space, of the danger they'd faced and the strength that had carried them through. He thought of Carr's steady voice, the calm in their touch. For the first time since leaving Earth, he didn't feel small against the vast universe. He felt part of it. Strong, unbroken, claimed not by fear but by connection. Outside the window, the stars burned on, bright and endless. Inside, Aiden slept without fear, knowing that whatever shadows waited in the void, he and Carr would stand together. The station woke in quiet after the storm. For the first time in days, no alarms rang, no shadows moved across the radar. Aiden stepped into the corridor and felt the hush of a place still catching its breath. The air smelled faintly of metal and recycled water. Carr walked beside him, silent but steady, their tall frame almost brushing the ceiling lights. Aiden glanced at them and saw faint silver scars along their arm, marks from the power surges during the attack. The alien wore them like distant stars, each one a small proof of survival. Still hurts? Aiden asked. Carr looked down at the lines. It is only memory, they said. Then memory is strength, Aiden smiled faintly. You always know the right thing to say. They headed to the main observation deck. Outside the giant window, the void stretched forever, black and endless, scattered with sharp points of light. The pirate ship was gone. Only a thin trail of particles remained, fading into nothing. Aiden leaned against the cool glass. Hard to believe it's over, he said. Feels like the whole station is still holding its breath. It will breathe again, Carr said. So will you. Aiden studied the stars. He thought about how small Earth looked from here, a blue dot spinning alone. Yet inside his chest, something felt larger than it ever had. That evening, the station crew gathered for a quiet ceremony in the central hub. They shared simple food, passed water cups, and told stories of courage. Captain Lyra spoke of unity across species, her voice strong as she thanked everyone for standing together. When she mentioned Carr by name, a respectful silence fell. All eyes turned to the silver figure who stood with calm grace. Carr bowed their heads slightly. "The station stood because all hearts stood," they said simply. "Strength is never won alone." The room filled with soft murmurs of agreement. Aiden felt a swell of pride, not just for Carr but for every human and alien who had refused to break. Later, when the crowd dispersed, Aiden and Carr walked the quieter halls. The tension of the past days had thinned, replaced by something warm and gentle. "Back home, Aiden,"